Hi, this video is quite different from all my other videos because I know that I do cover a wide variety of topics, but you know, they are all interrelated because Einstein was exactly right. All things are related, and I think anybody who watches my videos will understand that there is a cohesion of presentation. There's a cohesion within my presentation that always brings us back to the issue of our rights, our human rights, and universal law. So this story is about the Garden of Eden. The first two stories in Genesis, basically, that is what this video is going to cover. And let's start at the beginning of Genesis, where we witness what we now understand is a basic allegory of what actually happened. At first there was the void, and then there was the word, let there be light, and then God created the heavens and the earth and all the creatures, the plants, the waters, the creatures, and then let us make man in our own image, to be like us, both male and female, and set them to rule the earth and to tame the wilderness. We've learnt something straight away from that first passage, that God is not just male. God is both male and female, to be like us, both male and female, to set them, not him, them, to rule the earth and to tame the wilderness. But because human beings are not like other animals, where we are born with an inbuilt instinct to act as our guide and intelligence through life, no, human intelligence is free. We have free choice. We can override our instinct, tame the earth, tame the wilderness. The first wilderness is within ourselves. Can we tame our instincts to live by intelligence? Can we train our heart to live by the understanding of our head? Can we tame our feelings? And can we unleash them when they deserve to be unleashed? How are we going to learn how to understand, how to be a human, how to be like us, like God, Goddess? How can we be like God, Goddess, unless we have experience and knowledge and wisdom and guidance to learn? And so we're given a story to help us, in the same way that Jesus gave us stories to help us, like, for example, the Good Samaritan. Everybody on earth can learn something from that story. And so God, Goddess, in her infinite wisdom, He who created man, both male and female, to be like us, in our own image. Okay? They gave us a story, and the story is titled Eden, and it's an allegory of life. Eden is an allegory of planet Earth, a beautiful garden. And the God, the Lord God, who is both male and female, decides to make a man to help work the ground, because clearly God cannot do this for him, herself. And so Adam is created from the dust in the ground. And then Adam is invited to name all the animals that the Lord God creates. and to try and find a helper among them for himself, and he couldn't find any helper. And so the Lord God caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep and took one of his ribs, and from his rib he created Eve, a woman, who is to be another side of man. And Adam says to the woman, "You are bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. You are another side of me." And Eve and Adam are free to wander in the garden. There's no distinction between them as far as who has rights and who doesn't. Both are autonomously free to make their own choices, to use their brain and to show their Lord God who they really are and where they're really at and where their levels of intelligence are at. And everything is perfect and beautiful in the Garden of Eden, and there's only one law. Thou shalt not eat from the tree of knowledge, for if thou eatst of it, thou shalt surely die, warns the Lord God. And Adam and Eve heed the Lord God's warning, and they do not eat of the tree of knowledge because they do not want to die. And they eat freely from all the fruits in the garden and are free to eat from the tree of life to live forever. But then one day, Eve is stood by the tree of knowledge and she's looking at the beautiful fruits that are hanging from it. And all of a sudden, a serpent appears and says to Eve, "You know that Lord God is a liar." Yes, that's what the serpent said. Lord God is a liar. He's a deceiver. He's a slave owner. He wants to keep you here as slave in his garden because you can eat of the fruits of the tree of knowledge and you won't die. Instead, you'll be like God, the Lord God, to know both good and bad, said the serpent. Yes, that's what the serpent really said. That's what the serpent was really saying. And so Eve was thinking to herself, well, this is news. She doesn't know what a lie is. She doesn't know what a deception is. But she does understand that if she eats of the tree of knowledge, she will know both good and bad, and then she will be like the Lord God. Power. An offer of power. So that's why the Lord God was telling Eve and Adam not to eat of the tree of knowledge. The Lord God did not want Adam and Eve to become like him. But hold on a minute. In the beginning, God and Goddess had created man, both male and female, to be like us, to be like God and Goddess. So surely it was their right to eat from the tree of knowledge. And yet this Lord God was telling them that they shouldn't eat from the tree of knowledge. What's going on here? There's a confusion already. But we're dealing with a story, remember? We're dealing with a story. So now we need to understand that maybe there's a deeper message within this story that we need to get a grip on. A grip that people of previous centuries were prevented from understanding. And instead, the understanding of the story was applied as a judgment against actual living humanity rather than being understood as a story and a lesson as a parable. But of course, stupidity is stupidity. So anyway, Eve, she reaches out her hand and plucks the fruit from the tree of knowledge and bites into it. And she's not dead. She's not dead. Instead, suddenly, she knows. And then Adam approaches and sees her with the fruit. And she says, "Here, have some, Adam. The Lord God was a liar. He was lying to us. He just didn't want us to be like him. He wanted to keep us his slave on his plantation. So have some. Look, I'm not dead. This serpent told me." Yeah, give us some then, says Adam. And he has a bite too. And then all of a sudden they hear the Lord God approaching. Oh, suddenly they know bad. They know bad. They feel guilty. They feel ashamed. They feel naked in their guilt. They cannot hide their guilt. So they have to hide themselves from the Lord God. Physically. And the Lord God knows that Adam and Eve, his creation, are hiding from him. Why? Why would his own creation hide from him? It was such an offence and such a pain and such a distress for the Lord God to witness that his own creation, who he'd shown nothing but kindness to, who he'd given everything to, were hiding away in fear from their Creator. Something bad had happened in the Garden of Eden. And in the Garden of Eden, there was only one bad thing that could have happened. There was only one law that Adam and Eve could have broken, and that was to eat from the tree of knowledge. And so the Lord God knew immediately what they'd done. And so, you know, Eve is punished. She's going to menstruate. She's cursed with menstruation and painful childbirth, and being under subjugation of her husband, who she shall love, but he shall never have any respect, but he shall have no respect for her. And Adam, well, he's condemned to get sick and die. And the serpent, oh, punished. You're going to crawl on your belly forever, serpent. And they're cast out from the Garden of Eden, and a fiery sword which turns every which way is guarded by 2 cherubim. And they're told that now they no longer have access to the tree of life, and they must live in the wilderness. But you know, God sticks around, the Lord God. He doesn't completely abandon them. He makes Adam and Eve garments of skin, made from animal skins. And their 2 children, Cain and Abel, seek the Lord God's favour. And Abel brings to the Lord God a young lamb, the firstborn of his flock of sheep. And the Lord God looks with favour on Abel's offering. And Cain puts before the Lord God a bushel of wheat or corn, a bushel of grain from his works, agricultural works. And the Lord God does not look with favour on Cain's offering. And Cain looks very, very sad about this, because his work has not found favour with the Lord God. But Abel, his brother, has found favour with the Lord God. And the Lord God notices Cain's sadness and says, why do you look so downcast? Do you not know that if you do good works, it is only your work shall be equally favoured? But Cain, he's angry. He's resentful of his brother. He's jealous of his brother. He begins to hate his brother. He decides, I'm going to kill my brother. Eliminate the competition. So he kills his brother. And then the Lord God is deeply unhappy, deeply, deeply distressed about the loss and murder of Abel. And he says to Cain, now you must wander out throughout the earth, throughout the wilderness. You shall never find a home. You will be a lonely wanderer throughout the earth. And Eve says, well, I suppose I'll have to make another child. I'll just have another child. That's Abel's mother. We don't hear what Adam thinks about the situation. Obviously, he's not bothered. So we'll just leave it at that point, you know, that point of Genesis. And let's see how that has influenced our society. The traditional interpretation of it. How has it influenced our society? Because people might think you can dismiss that story now as a fiction, but it does not matter, because that story has shaped human society and human consciousness to the extent that women were absolutely, totally stripped of all their rights and were made chattel, and her children judged and condemned as being born in original sin. And the woman herself condemned as a temptress. She tempted Adam to sin. She listened to the devil. And for a man to listen to his wife is tantamount to listening to the devil. These are the consciousness, these are the thoughts that grow and take root throughout time, throughout history. And these are the remnants of the dead trees, because they were not the tree of life. But time and times and time and half a time in the time that is the time between winter and autumn, in that half time there is one tree that suddenly bursts into blossom and is ready to bear fruit, to feed the children of the generation that that story was written for, and as evidence and proof of how intelligent is the universe that created us, and why a particular story should survive for thousands of years, and why a particular story, no matter how it's altered, no matter what humanity does to it, retains its true original message for the new life in times to come. And so the traditional interpretation of the story is that, yes, we all accept the first part of Genesis. We all have a Sabbath day. We honour the Sabbath day. But we also accept the second part of the story, where there is no Sabbath day. We've got there's no mention of the Lord God resting on a Sabbath day, on the seventh day, in the second story, the Eden story. But from that, we accept that man has an absolute right, God-given right, to rule over woman and tread her under his feet, because she is responsible for tempting him and leading him astray. And now he's doomed to die. And it's all because of her. And the fact she menstruates is disgusting. She's cursed from God. Don't show her any empathy. Show her nothing. Let her deal with those periods. They've got absolutely nothing. She still will get up and go to bloody work, regardless of whether she's got headaches, cramps, whether she's flooding. You forget all that. You fucking well keep that to yourself, woman. We don't want to hear fuck all about it. It's your curse from God. And her children, well, all born in original sin. Her first 2 children, one of them was a murderer. What would you expect? You know? And so we live by the interpretation of that story that is then applied to real living human beings. But today, the blossom on the tree is telling a new story. It's telling the truth of that story. That is, and how it should have been applied, and how today it shall be applied by a new generation of new minds. Humanity. Because we shall learn now the lesson of the story of the Garden of Eden.